Hey folks, how you doing? Papa Joe here. We are continuing the phone call education where we're reaching out and touching different people in the industry. Tonight we're going to be talking to a dispatcher. He happens to be my dispatcher, and he volunteered a little bit of his time to help us do this deal. Now I want to tell y'all here in the beginning, and I'll probably tell you again at the end of the video. Now this is how our company operates. These are the thoughts of him and myself. If you hear us talking and it is not how your company operates, do not go to your company and say, but Papa Joe and Ronnie said to do it like this. It don't work that way. So just a little disclaimer there. I don't want to get phone calls later. Y'all tell me you got fired or got your hand slapped for saying I told you to do something. So with that, this is Ronnie. Ronnie, I appreciate you putting up some time for us tonight, man. I know you're at home, so thank you.
Absolutely. I'm glad to be able to help.
Well, cool. Normally I ask my people to qualify or give their credentials. How long have you been messing with the trucking industry?
Oh, wow. Mine started in the military. It was in the Army, logistics.
Thank you for your service.
Absolutely. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Today. Yeah.
Right.
Did that for 5 years, got out. I was away from logistics for about 5 years after I got out, and I got back in. So I guess on my civilian side, probably about 8.5 years almost.
Right, cool. Now, have you always been a dispatcher or what?
No, after I got out of the Army, I drove a truck for about, not quite a year. That worked out pretty good while I was doing it, but really wasn't what I was looking for. And then that's kind of when I broke away from logistics. When I got back, worked receiving docks, shipping docks, that side of logistics for a long time, purchasing, managing those things. Found my way into brokerage. I did that for a few years, and then my last little 3 years with you doing I've been dispatching.
Well, you've kind of been all over the field with trucking then.
I've seen quite a bit, yeah.
Right? Now, if we could only teach you how to dispatch.
Somebody tried once, but didn't pay.
Well, and I was debating, I was thinking about that earlier and debating on to bring that up. I know I had told them the story about the young driver that came onto Ronnie's board. I didn't tell him it was you at the time. I don't think I did. Now, this boy barely had 2 years under his belt. He's barely qualified to come with our company. And he asked Ronnie how long he had been dispatching, and Ronnie's like, long enough. Oh, well, I don't mind teaching you. You won't be the first dispatcher I've trained. How long did he last with us? Maybe a month?
I think you might have been a month, yeah.
Yeah. And believe it or not, every once in a while he's reminded of that. I don't know what truck driver would remind him of it, but you know. You know. Well, I guess the easiest way or the best way to start this is at the beginning. So when you get a driver such as that young boy, how do you go about determining what kind of youngin' he is or driver he's going to make? Do they give you any kind of information on him, or are you just kind of thrown to the wolves, here he is, learning?
Well, a little of both, actually. I get a little bit of information, mostly just background stuff, to introduce themselves. I'll ask a few questions, you know, or just small talk, really, and then try to move. For me, that works the best. I always give somebody the opportunity, you know, give them a chance, because like you explained just a few minutes ago, if somebody can start a good game, but if they can't drive a truck, they just can't drive a truck. So
right.
Instead of asking them a whole bunch of questions, I'd rather just let them take off in the truck and we'll figure it out down the road. That's kind of a collision of styles, and I have a certain way I like to dispatch things, but certain drivers out in certain ways. They like to drive truck, and we kind of have to feel it out to see if it's going to work. And it's not all on them. I don't expect anybody to change the way they do anything. And I try to change as much as I can to accommodate each driver, but, you know, that's not really a good answer for your question, but that's, for me, it's just turn them loose. Well, put some miles on the road and see what happens. You know?
Actually, well, two things. One is whatever you just did to your phone, boy, you started coming through a lot better. You was a little bit muffled up and light before, so you're coming through good now. Okay. Something that I have told them constantly out here is that it don't matter how much experience you got or anything else. When you go to a new company and a new dispatcher, you basically still have to prove yourself, so to speak. Right. You know, you both have to get to know each other. I've got to get to know how you dispatch and whatnot. The biggest thing is that we have to have a trust between us. I have to trust that you're not going to be telling me stories and making stuff up, and vice versa. You have to know that if I say I'm going to be there, I'm going to be there unless something stupid happens. Now, is that a fair assumption?
That's exactly right. Yeah, it all starts with that. And on your side, too. I mean, if you can trust what I'm telling you to be the truth, and I lead you astray, well, then we've already started to drive a wedge.
Yep.
Get deeper and deeper.
Yep.
And the same way when I'm looking at a driver, you know, if things happen on the road, it's trucking, that is just trucking. And sometimes things don't work out like we want it to. And if it continuously happens and we start to create a pattern, then that's one thing that we have to look at. But if it's, you know, some freak thing, and I don't worry about it. You know, especially at the beginning, we're trying to feel it out. Like you said, we're trying to feel each other out and see how we cooperate. And we got to build that chemistry, that trust. Because trust is a hard thing for people, you know, and especially in this industry where we immediately don't trust anybody.
Right.
So we have to build that between us.
Well,
I agree. That is a fair thing.
There's a lot to that on the trust part. I mean, dispatchers in general have a bad name with truck drivers because they're, you know, the bad apple syndrome, and vice versa. You know, a lot of dispatchers and whatnot, they think every truck driver is going to start lying to them. So you really got to work with them. Another thing that I preach a lot about is communication.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, the communication, I think you and I communicate pretty good. I know every once in a while we get a little slack, but usually if I'm slack, it's because I'm mad at you and I don't want to talk to you. But, yeah, and I assume it's the same the other way. So then we kiss and make up and blame the broker. So,
that's right.
Well, what do you got to say about the communication part of it?
Well, the communication is the breakdown of every industry. Not even just trucking, but especially in trucking. If you can't communicate, then bad things are going to happen. I mean, you can stop from, and I hate to sound negative, but bad things are going to happen in trucking. And
right.
If you can communicate and stay together, and stay on the same page, then you can at least slow it down from happening.
Right.
Maybe you can't stop everything, but if I don't know and you don't got to tell me your whole life story or what's going on, people are private, you know, some people are private, but if you just let me know what's going on, a lot of times I can work with it.
Right.
Like, I need to get back home at this certain time, or I need a couple extra days. Well, let me see what I can do. I usually can, especially if I have a good, a heads up, in advance. Yeah. And the same for me, too. Like, if I needed a driver to, turn and burn on loads, and they're running out of hours. And it's a stretch for me to even ask, because I don't even like doing that. But if I needed him to do that, if I'll communicate that ahead of time, then they can start to plan.
Right.
And that just lends back to building trust again. I mean, everything's going to come back to trust, but communication is the key in every industry, especially trucking, because we don't always get the right information, and if you don't pass on any information, then you're doing something again.
Right, and people also have to realize that a dispatcher's hands are tied. They're not the do all, know all, and the whole bit. You have boundaries and limitations that you have to work within. Can you and let us know a little bit more about that?
Yeah. Well, in our company, we have a certain way of doing things. And like you said at the beginning, that's not the way in every company, but a lot of times the dispatcher is just a conduit of information. That's really all they do. They don't make a whole lot of decisions. They're just, they take the information that they get from the customer or from the broker or from their boss or whatever, and they pass it along to the driver. And somewhere along the way, they have to figure out the best way to do that. And so that's really the only decision-making process in that area. Drivers will kind of keep that in mind, that a lot of times the dispatcher is just a garden hose, basically, for the water to flow through.
Just a mouthpiece.
The water being, just a mouthpiece. We're just passing along information. It's not like that in every company. You know, some companies, dispatchers have complete control over everything, and that's one thing. But, and I can only speak for our company, but, and that's the communication part. I need to make sure that I'm passing along the right information, and I'm saying it the right way, and I've got all the information I can possibly get from the beginning. Because a lot of times, you know, driver will come back and say, "Hey, I need this pickup number, or I need some more information."
I just did it today to you.
It happened today with you and I. That's right, and there's some information I didn't have up front. Now, I could have been a little more diligent on my part. That's kind of on me. I could have just went after them right from the beginning. And a lot of times, go back to the customer and say, "Hey, you know, I needed this." Well, maybe they didn't have it, because a lot of times they're also part of the information chain. But as long as I can pass on everything I have from the beginning, that eliminates a lot of the questions the driver will have later on. It'll make their job a lot easier and smooth a lot. You'll sail a lot smoother. And it takes a lot of pressure off me, because that way the driver already has all that.
Right.
So that, for me in my chair, that's what it looks like.
Right. And you brought up a valid point there in a roundabout way. I know a lot of drivers get very frustrated, been there myself, not with you. And that's with, right? But that's where you reach out for this information, and it takes forever to get it.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, you start playing the worst scenarios in your head. He's taking care of someone else. He went on lunch break. Is he having a cigarette? Which Ronnie don't smoke for y'all. But they don't realize that you might not just have that right there at the tip of your fingers, and now you got to go back to the broker, and you have to wait on this individual. See how nice I can be? You have to wait on this individual to get you the information.
Right. So, and a lot of times they've got to actually go to the customer, and with email being primary on how information flows these days, they'll just all they're allowed to do is send an email, and hopefully somebody answers the email quick enough.
Right.
Instead of a phone call. You know, for me, I'd rather just make a phone call.
Yep.
But then, in certain instances, brokers say, "Well, let me reach out to my customer, because I don't have that information for you."
Right.
And all they're allowed to do sometimes is send an email, and then you got to turn around and wait for it to come. And like you said, the driver's sitting there twiddling his thumb, thinking every possible bad thing that could possibly, this load's gonna fall out. I'm gonna have to change the entire. I'm gonna get stuck here. I'm gonna get stuck here overnight. You know. And I understand that. I would feel the same way. I really would. But and so the information's getting slowed down like that. If a dispatcher is sharp, they'll go right after it, and they'll make those phone calls and do what they can, and then try to explain to the driver, "Hey, I reached out, give them just a minute," and then just keep touching base every 5 or 10 minutes. "Hey, I ain't forgot about you.
Right.
Still wait. Just hang tight. I got you."
Right.
And there you go. There's another prime example of good communication.
Exactly. And I'll tell you now, there's a lot of us old school that, it just drives us nuts when you call in and, "Well, I sent them an email," and we're all like, "Dude, we used to truck without email. We know what a phone is. Call them." So,
that's right.
But unfortunately, like you said, there's some companies that don't allow it. It has to all be in writing on email to cover their butts.
That's exactly it.
Now,
you're right.
Also something I'm going to touch on here. which I have told my subscribers many a time, and you can validate it. We're one of them companies where we actually think the dispatcher should do his job, which is to be the communicating, and not for the broker to hound and harass the driver like this one I'm on right now, and you know them. They've done called me at least 12 times today. And I've told them that the owner of the company himself, Larry, has told me, I didn't hire you to deal with brokers. Tell them call dispatch. Now, you're on the same page with that as the rest of us, right?
I certainly am. I sit in front of a computer screen and answer. I'm on the phone, 70% of my day.
2 phones.
And that's my job. That's what I'm at. That's what they hire me to do. And so I want them, and we do satellite trucking on our trucks. A lot of companies do. I know where Joe's at all the time. All they got to do is call and say, hey, what's going on? Where is are loaded and in route or whatever. I give them all the information. I would rather them call me than to hound you when you're stuck in traffic or you're trying to offload something or you're trying to back in somewhere. You don't want to take a call. Just call the dispatcher. So much easier. That's what we're there for. We're in between. Real simple.
And I have literally told a couple of them that, hey, we hired a dispatcher for a reason. Call him.
Yeah, it's so much easier.
They don't like that. Now I want to touch on one that we've discussed quite a while back. We ain't talked about it a little bit. The ELDs and this mandatory ELD nonsense.
Oh boy.
Yeah, go ahead and tell them how that has affected dispatching and trucking from your view.
I'm going to tell you what, man. As a dispatcher, I'm not to go against the government because I am a firm supporter of our government. But ELDs have completely changed the face of the industry as we knew it would, and it has. I certainly miss the days when we get on paper logs, and it's not because I could push drivers to just do the same amount of driving miles or same amount of hours, but it made things a lot more possible.
Right.
What's caused the problem I think, for dispatch is it took a little while before shipping and receiving docks were able to catch up. And so they were setting these ridiculous delivery times, load in LA on a, Tuesday afternoon, but they weren't there Wednesday evening in Dallas. I'm like, oh, that's probably not going to happen with ELD. You can't drive that many hours, as you well know. As a lot of your subscribers, I'm sure, know by now. And it's forced us to I have to nitpick through logs to make sure that my drivers are going to be able to drive a load, that they're going to get enough downtime, that they're able to. I don't help plan breaks. I don't have to do that part of it, but I need to watch when they are going to have to take a break and how it's going to affect things. It's changed the industry, and not just the drivers maybe not getting as many miles down the road, but dispatchers, it put a lot more work on our shoulders, which that's fine. That's what we're there for, but
it would help a lot it would help a lot if the brokers would get on board with it. Once again,
took a while to catch up too,
once again, they are the wrench in the monkey works, because they still want to plan the pickup and the delivery before the truck company even gets the load. So, and all they look at is, okay, you pick up at 2 o'clock, they can make it here by this time. So, okay, we'll set the appointment. They don't even think about the drivers already worked 4, 8, however many days, hours in that day. And it gets plumb crazy. And I put a lot of that on the broker's back. So when you send me a dispatch, you yourself, when you dispatch me, the majority of the time it's already got the pickup appointment time and the delivery appointment time. And I'm scratching my head saying, now, do they even think I need to stop and use the bathroom, stop and get something to eat? I got a 10-hour break, I got a 30-minute break, and it literally looks like they punched it on the computer and said, okay, this will work.
It's possible, yeah.
Yeah.
It just don't work that way, as you well know. And what we've been able to do lately, and the industry, like I said, is slow to catch up, but they're starting to get some traction. And what's happening now, more than anything, especially with a lot of the brokerages or the customers that I like to work with the most, is they will wait until we get loaded. Like I had one of my drivers today got loaded out of Laredo, coming back to Lowell, Arkansas, and she didn't want to book the delivery appointment, the broker, until he got loaded, which is the way that she does it on every one of those loads. And I think that's the greatest way, because that way he can get, maybe it took 4 hours to load him, because you don't know how to hit the dock.
Oh, in Laredo, yeah, 4 hours is a short one.
Right, in Laredo especially, yeah. Well, we were able to plan it that way, and so she, she's like, well, we'll just schedule this out for Thursday, give plenty of drive time, and she's now, to give her props, she's one of the better brokers that I deal with. Really sharp girl, and she does a great job for her company, and she does us a lot of freight, takes really good care of us. And there are some others out there that I work with, and they're catching on to that very thing. She understands how ELDs work, and I explain to her what all we have to do on our side. And other brokers, I think, are trying to catch up, but so far it's not par for the course, and we're hoping that changes, within maybe the next year. I try to teach other brokers how to plan these loads as we go along, and it's worked for some, and some fight me on it, but
well, and that goes back
just the middleman.
Yeah, that goes back to a conversation you and I had a long time ago, where like you said, you used to be a broker and you know people in that field, and you told me before this actually became enacted that you was trying to educate some of the people you know.
I was.
And it was pretty much falling on deaf ears.
They didn't want it. I had some friends that were still brokers, and I would try to, and I did tell you that story. I tried to explain to them, hey man, you don't understand what this is getting ready to do.
Right.
And they didn't want to hear it. And it's not that they were hard-headed, and I'm not trying to beat them up, but they just didn't have a grasp. And now it's in full swing, and now everybody has to catch up. Now they have to learn.
Well, and we had the same thing out here with truck drivers, a lot of the old truck drivers. Now, I was already on it, and I actually, I kind of enjoyed it there in the beginning. It can be a pain, don't get me wrong. That 30-minute break part, that's always what bites me in the butt. But we had a whole bunch of drivers out here that refused to go over to ELDs until the last day. And then if you tried to talk to them, like I've got a couple of videos up explaining to them how the ELDs was working and all this before it happened, oh man, they was in there calling me a sellout and all this, and you should resist. And how are you going to resist? This is federal government law. All you can do is learn how to adapt over and go with it.
That's right.
One of my favorite sayings is to learn the rules we're playing the game by and learn how to use them against them. So.
Some you can win, some you can't. That's how it is.
Well, and what do I always tell you? If we ain't got a plan, we can't mess it up.
Can't mess it up. That's right.
So now, and with that being said, we still get loads where we can't make them. And it's the best load for us to take, and which once again I have told these people this is how our company operates. It's like pick it up, do the best that you can, and we'll deal with the fallout when it happens.
Right. It's that whole easier to ask for forgiveness than permission.
Right.
Mentality, and I'm not going to tell you I don't do it. I'm just as guilty, and a lot of times because that's what's required of me. And I understand if you end up with some dispatchers, listening to your videos, they're going to probably agree with me that a lot of times you just got to go ahead and take it.
Yep.
Knowing full well that your driver don't have the hours to make it, or that it really can't be done. And is it cheap? It kind of is, and it's wrong to do that. But it's sometimes you just have to take the best, the lesser of two evils.
Well,
and I've done it to you before.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, once again, it's the perimeters that we work in, because we haul dedicated freight out of our area, And to get loads back to our area, you know, some of the places we go to, your hands are tied. You know, do I do this or do I make the driver set for a day while I'm waiting? And
exactly.
With this company, we don't set a whole hell of a lot, which I've told them numerous times. You guys, as in dispatchers, 99% of the time, the load is, we've got to backhaul before we're even halfway to the receiver.
That's right. And that happens pretty much every time.
Well, there's a few times, right? There's a few times where we just got so many drops on there and it's so scattered out that you got to wait until the last day, but you've got connections. Right. You still normally get it, even if it's the last day. You normally get a load before I'm empty. And I assume it's like that across the board with your drivers.
It is. And it's hard to gauge it sometimes when you got lots of drops, like a lot of our loads do. But I try to guess it as best I can based on the miles and what I know that driver's capable of doing. Some drivers they'll drive the full 11 and they'll keep the doors closed the whole time, and some guys stop 700 times a day. And so that comes with me getting to know my drivers.
Yep.
And what style they drive, that's perfectly fine. I can adapt. I can make it work. And just trying to guess it as best I can. And I always try to give myself an extra 2-3 hours on top of that. So like if you had several stops along the way down to Texas, and I need to get your backhaul, and you're probably not going to be empty till Thursday. It's kind of hard to guess 2 days ahead of time, but you do the best you can, or at least I try to do it. And I think that a lot of dispatchers are facing that same challenge.
Right. Well, and then you have deals.
Hopefully works out.
You got deals just like on this load I'm on, or I just emptied out of. Yesterday you had me 2 different loads, and they both wound up canceling out on us, and that's when I called harassing you over it. You know, but even with that being given, at the end of the day, you said, all right, I got one, but I can't give you no information till tomorrow. Which, once again, was a broker game where they hold the information hostage until they can talk to the driver, which is a big pet peeve of mine.
I still haven't figured that one out yet.
Right.
You're going to tell me whatever information they give you, you're going to tell me anyway.
Yep. So, and I'm going to talk to them as little as possible.
Right. That's what I'm there for.
Right, exactly.
I got to have a job too.
Right. So, I mean, you know, that umbrella drink and your feet up on the desk, you can only do that so long. So, well, I do appreciate you taking your time, because you are at home, I know that. What information can you pass along to any of the drivers in general, but particularly the new drivers coming out? What kind of words of wisdom can you give them for dealing with a dispatcher?
Well, if you're hungry and you want to drive a lot, just be patient. That's all I can tell you. Be patient and be a little flexible, because like I said, a lot of times dispatchers just conduit of information. You've got a lot of control over most of the way. Just if something looks like it's going sour, just give them a little break. Give them a little time to work on it. If it still doesn't happen, then you've got a bigger problem to deal with. But the best advice is to be patient, be a little flexible, and just give them a little room to work, and I think it'll work out. Best advice, probably.
Well, and I would like to add on to that if you are having issues and you're not sure why, I would add on, before you get just totally mad and quit the company or go to the general manager or whatever your avenues are, to go have a face-to-face with the dispatcher. You and I have stepped outside and talked a few times. Never anything bad like that. To my knowledge, I don't think I've gotten that mad at you, but we have stepped outside so I could tell you what's going on in my life, as simple as when my mom wasn't doing good, you know. So the communications is the #1 thing that I can keep preaching to everybody. Along with it, if you're having issues with your dispatch, go ahead and talk to them. They might not see it as an issue where you are. So if you can bring it up to their attention, then there might be something that can be done. Is that a fair statement?
It is a fair statement. But give them an opportunity, because maybe they just don't see it that way. And if you explain it, I got this going on, give them an opportunity to take a look at it, because they may not even be aware that they are screwed up, or that they did something wrong, or, like I said, communicate. Just be a good communicator.
Yep. Well, brother, I appreciate your time on here. I'm sure my subscribers do too. I'm going to let you get off here and do something with the kids, or at least feed them. Don't starve the kids.
I know. I got to feed them every day.
See, I told you, that becomes a habit with them, man. You start that when they're babies, because they're cute with that baby food all over their face, and then they want it every day, 3 times a day.
Yeah, I know. It's horrible. Especially teenagers. That's what I have.
I hear you. All right, brother. I thank you a lot, and I'll talk to you in the morning.
All right, Bill. Have a good evening.
All right. Good night.
All right.
All right, folks. There you go. That was my dispatcher. I thought that was a very good phone call. And there ain't a whole lot I can tell you about surmising that conversation. It pretty much said everything for itself, and the biggest key is communication. So with that, I'm going to remind you the good Lord loves you, and so do we. You have a blessed day. I'll see you in the live feed in a little while. Bye.